Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley, episode 17. And today we're going to have a really good show because we finally got 3 points last night. It's awesome. It really feels really good. So thank you all for coming out to this broadcast and checking us out. We are Down in the Valley. My name is Edson Ochoa, and we also have my co-host, Jacob Young. Jacob, how are you?
Doing really well. Looking forward to this show.
Yeah, definitely we are. It's his first time as the new co-host of Down in the Valley. So guys in the chat, please give Jacob a warm welcome as well. Hopefully he'll bring us a different point of view and make this show more interesting with a lot more of a dialogue rather than just a 2-hour long monologue. And I have a lot of trust that this will allow us to grow. So be sure before we start, I want to thank the Beautiful Game Network because they are the ones who are friends who help us out with our being able to be podcasted on Apple Music, on the Google Play Store, Stitcher, as well as SoundCloud. So if you guys haven't already, be sure to follow them on Twitter at the BGNFM. Be sure to also check out their website at www.bgn.fm. Be sure also check out while you're there, check out other USL podcasts that they have, like the USL show, Back Chat show, Sock Takes, and many other really, really good, really, really high quality USL podcasts that give you a different idea on what our rivals in the league are doing so far. I really, really highly recommend it. And be sure to also check us out at our website. Check out downintheRGV.com. Follow us on Twitter if you haven't already, which is at downintheRGV. Check us out on SoundCloud, on Facebook as well. We are on Facebook as well. And so, having said this, let's go ahead and start with this show. Let's get the show on the road. All right, Jacob. So, what do you want to start first? The good side or the bad side?
Well, let's always start off with the positives. I think the positives are where we should start. And first of all, congrats to us. We finally got the 3 points, and we actually, to me, looked good offensively, finally.
Definitely. I guess you can kind of attribute it to the fact that we had Memo Rodriguez and Max Steves kind of helping us out. That also kind of helped out with our substitutes like Aldo Quintanilla. Have that extra, I guess that extra boost, that extra, kind of like, oh well, I got benched. I want to prove to Gerson Echeverry that I can take care of the job without needing Dynamo players to come in. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for the Dynamo players coming in, it finally gave us some just veteran side of things. I don't think that we honestly had that coming into this whole entire season with basically everyone gone. And we had a ton of new kids, and that hurt us in a way. A new goalkeeper, just everyone basically. And so with, those veterans being taken away, that really did hurt us from the start. And thank goodness for getting both those players back, especially. And so now we actually have solid leaders on that field, on that pitch, and it makes it so much better.
Did you really attribute it to, for example, actually, the better question would be, do you think that the fact that for this game they saw that the Dynamo players kind of made a difference? Do you think that the Dynamo now will be kind of more willing to lend us more of their unused players? Or do you think they'll go back to, okay, so let the USL players get a second chance?
Well, yeah, I don't know on that note, because of the fact that we also have, Charlie Ward, that big question right there. And I know that you probably want to get into that later, but
yes,
with obviously, him, that's a totally different question. And with now getting them back, yes, it's like a second chance, but remember when you played, FIFA and you try to get these players, but then they ask for more playing time, and then you just sent them down to like your other club.
Yes.
That's basically what they wanted.
Definitely. One of the biggest pet peeves, and I'm sure, and we've talked about this before, and I'm sure you do agree on, is the biggest pet peeve is that they've taken these players like Charlie, like Eric, like Malky, and they have not used them in the first team. And right now, you're seeing the Dynamo, bringing in more international players that take up an international slot. And so the big question is, where is, for example, this player like Charlie Ward? Where is he going to be? And we will talk about that later on. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the starting lineups for this game. I said you wanted the positives. We'll go ahead and start with the game against Orange County. So let's go ahead and start with the starting lineups. And so we know that once again, Jerson Echeverry made some different changes to the lineup. This time they were kind of minor, because a lot of the players were basically a repeat of the game against Portland, because we had Manny Padilla, and I think the only change was obviously the two guys that came from the Dynamo, and because of the red card, Pablo Aguilar took the place of Saldivar up top. But let's go ahead and start from the goalkeeper. We had Nicholas Cordy back on goal. And last game, we'll talk about that later, but he was very, very, I guess you can say, he did not look very, very, I totally lost the word. Like that third goal, especially that third goal, like he was not well positioned. He looked kind of without any confidence out there. But I guess Jerson Echeverry saw, that during practices, maybe, it was just a fluke, and gave him the confidence to put him back in the starting 11. And what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, for sure. Because of the fact that, you have to start to make these decisions where you have to leave these players in. Because if you just keep on putting players on the pitch and then taking them out after another game, that hurts their morale, that hurts their confidence level. And then when they get put back on the pitch, they're most likely going to play worse. Gerson needed to find someone that was worth it, and so far, Corty's sure he's been struggling, but at the same time, he looked like the best goalkeeper out there that they had, so keeping him in was the smart decision, and I enjoyed watching him out last night.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown in the first couple of games, he showed a really, really good skills there in the goalkeeping position. And then you had the game against Colorado. I think it was against Colorado, where they had Matt Sanchez on, and you could see the night and day difference between both of them. Nico Cordy, for the most part, more confident on goal. Matt Sanchez, losing some easily, like spilling some easy shots on him that have cost. I think he costed us some goals. And then in the preseason, against San Antonio, cost some as well. Or we're close if it hadn't been for Connor Donovan.
Yeah, for sure. There, I mean, the way that he has been playing has been spectacular, and the way that he put on a great show last night. Mm-hmm. Especially, not to mention that I know that you haven't gotten up to this, but the defense was helping. And in the past few games that, he even started off with, and those other goalkeepers, it didn't help that we didn't have a strong line behind him, or in front of him, excuse me. And so that really did hurt even our goalkeepers' chances to look good. So once we had that, it was much, much better.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of the things that I had told Sean on Tuesday. I told him, a lot of times, having a goalkeeper that's confident back there helps out, the confidence level of the defenders. When you have a shaky goalkeeper in the back, the defenders become shaky as well, because you don't know, like, okay, if something gets past me, then I'm not sure if my goalkeeper is able to block it. And I think with Nico Cordy, for the most part, they've had some mental mistakes that have cost us goals in the second half. But for the most part of the game, the defense has pretty much been up to snuff. But now in this game, they showed up for the whole 90 minutes. And so let's go ahead and go to the defenders. So once again, we had Manny Padilla in the right back position, Connor Donovan and Omar Ontiveros in the center back position, and you saw Kyle Adams now also playing in the left back position. We can tell that Derek Luke has been benched in favor of Kyle Adams. Honestly, I think it's with what we have, because of what we have, I think it's a good idea. Derek Luke right now has just been too slow, in my opinion, and it showed really, really bad. I believe it was against Seattle too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last night it was pretty interesting to see them, though. Sure, they started off the game really well, but at the same time, during the second half, like at the start of that second half, they were slow to get play. They were slow to push up in a way, because they were just being pinned right behind. And so it was really annoying to see that happen. And it was a lot for the beginning, and then they were able to finally find their rhythm. And after they found their rhythm, they looked really good once again, like the first half team. So the defense, in my opinion, was the main key from this team from the past nights that they had played. Sure, they hadn't been playing too well, but that's been the key for our team.
So, in your opinion, we know that Omar Ontiveros is a homegrown player, and when the beginning of the season, you would not imagine that Omar Ontiveros would be a constant starter in this lineup. But how do you feel about Omar Ontiveros? Has he pretty much done the job correctly? Has he surprised you?
He honestly, yes, he has surprised me a bit, because of the fact, obviously, yes, he is constantly in this lineup now, and he's brought, he's gone into terms with coach liking him, and Ontiveros, yeah, he's been a shock. It's just constantly now, especially now that he's getting used to things and things like that, he's really shown that he can play well. He can play solid defense when he's got the right guys around him, because not to mention, it's not just your play, it's also the teammates around you. And if, you don't have great chemistry with your teammates around you, you're not really going to play that well. And finally, I think since he has the right players around him, he's going to keep on progressing and doing better. And we're going to see this guy really become a star, maybe in the future for Houston.
Yeah, hopefully, what better than, what better way to show the success of this team than having, literally a homegrown player, somebody from the Rio Grande Valley, move up and hopefully get minutes with the Dynamo first team. I mean, that I know there's a lot of people here that kind of doubt as to why they put, their USL team down here in the Rio Grande Valley, because but there's a lot of distance between Houston and Rio Grande, But the ironic thing is, the Dynamo used to have their affiliates with Charleston, with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, this whole debate about whether the distance between the first team and the second team, it's kind of null and void. And honestly, I've seen it that there's a lot of untapped talent in the Rio Grande Valley.
Exactly. This is why this place is the spot actually is the perfect place to make a USL team, because of the fact that, that's owned by an MLS team as well, because that's the fact why you have players that constantly, even, and I've seen it in high schools, they drive the maybe 1 hour to go to a McAllen school just to play soccer there, get a good education plus play soccer. And so you see those players keep moving up, and then now you have a chance to try out for an actual team instead of going all the way down to most likely Monterey. You can play up in the United States and get a better shot up in a better place, and that's why this team, it could be something more. These players could be unreal, and I mean, in my opinion, it's a perfect place.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of the topics that have been coming up in regards to how the U.S. national team not making it to the World Cup. And so they always talk about the pay to play system. But one of the things that have come up, especially on Glenn's show about 2 months ago, that one of the complaints is that we're losing a lot of young Hispanic talent that could be useful for MLS or USL clubs, and they end up moving to Mexico, to their academies to try and find an opportunity to become pro. And I feel like with this team, if done correctly, that it gets to a point where people fall in love and actually accept RGVFC as a true representative of the region. You might see a bunch of these young talent say, you know what? I want to represent RGV and hopefully make it to the next level. And what better way, than trying to find young talent, hopefully for MLS level, maybe even international level. You never know.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of this. It's just all these players that you see, all of them that you feel. And I mean, even getting back to the United States thing, even before then, there's so much talent in that, like in the young roster. It's ridiculous why they didn't even have a thought of picking them. And so, as you said, we'll just see a ton of players that will have a chance to not just play for maybe the United States, but also for their club and country, because of the fact that, they'll just grow. It'll become a bigger place. And even, I mean, RGV's goal is to get into a bigger club and even move away from Houston. And if they can even do that, because they have that talent pool right next to them, it'll be amazing.
Definitely. I know that's been some of the talks with this team as well, as to if there's a way that they might become independent. I know that's one of the things that I've been told that's one of the goals by Alonso Cantu. But yeah, we have to take things step by step. Honestly, like for example, we have yet to gain a strong footing in the USL as far as being competitive. Yes, 2016 we made it to the playoffs, but last year we didn't. This season it's kind of been a kind of slow, rocky start. So we have to look at things in the long term. We need to have that financial stability as far as attendance. Attendance hasn't been that great. We're barely filling half of the stadium according to the attendance numbers that RGVFC posts up. So there's a lot of different topics that I would love to touch up upon later on in the show. But let's go ahead and go over to the midfielders. So RGVFC played with 4 midfielders. You had Zach Wright as the right winger. You had Todd Warden and Nicolas Perea, the young Colombian, as your central defensive midfielders, you can say. And then you had Memo Rodriguez coming down from the Dynamo. According to Wilmer Cabrera, he is barely getting back from an injury. That's why he had not been even coming out on the bench for Dynamo games. He said that not yesterday, last Saturday, when they played against Toronto FC 1.5, I'd like to say it. They asked him about him, and he said he's coming off an injury. And then yesterday we find out that he got sent down to RGV, and he got his first start with the Toros. Another homecoming for him.
Yeah, and that it's just a perfect place to come back from an injury, send him back down, get them used to the system. Obviously, in the future, especially because Memo, he's got a ton of talent. We've seen it in even the Open Cups too. Mm-hmm. That he's just been that kind of player that can make something happen, and he's shown it from down here. That's why, in a way, we finally had that veteran, which would be Rodriguez, and he was able to basically dictate the game in a way for RGV. And so since he did that, and he's just that talent that you really, really want on a young team like this, because he's still really young and he can improve a ton.
Yes.
And so with that player, guiding Perea and even Todd Wharton, even though Todd Wharton, yes, he's also technically a veteran because he's played a bit longer in at least the USL. It's still him plus Todd Wharton plus Wright. It was almost a dream lineup for sure.
Yeah, although I was really surprised how Nicolas Perea has come up pretty much out of nowhere and taken the starting position away from Jorginho James. Jorginho James is someone that we've said many times that he's pretty good defensively. He's big, he's strong, he's the destroyer, you can say, of the opposing team. And then for the first couple of games, they would have Pablo Aguilar, as a central defensive midfielder. Now, because of the fact that Saldívar was with the red card, Pablo Aguilar was actually moved up to his natural position which is the central attacking midfielder. And now you have Nicolas Perea, take over as the starting central defensive midfielder. And so, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, for sure, to start off with Jorginho James, he's been fantastic, but the only thing that I have noticed from him is that he really still hasn't learned how to use his height advantage. When he gets on that field, a lot of times he does get a yellow card because he has been way too tall and has been able to knock the opposing team down way too easily. Yes, he's super skilled and has been able to score a lot of far goals, but he still needs to work a bit more on his game. And so that's why I think he's a perfect bench player to come off of. He was almost like a super sub in a way, especially for those, not closing minutes, but, for like those 40 minutes left in a game. He's a perfect sub for you to have on the bench to send out and just help with that game.
Yeah, especially when you're, I guess you can say, kind of quasi parking the bus.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a perfect defender and a perfect attacker as well, or playmaker, I should say, because he's been known to create a couple of plays for sure to almost end up in the back of the net.
Yeah, and so now we're talking about, Pablo Aguilar, who, like I said, moved up to the center attacking midfield position. Finally, they placed him in his natural position, what he's been playing in college. And up on top, we had Max Steves, another Dynamo draft pick, being brought down to get some minutes here. Pablo Aguilar, the Dynamo says that they see him more as a central defensive midfielder than a 10. Do you agree with that or not?
Pablo Aguilar, I don't think so, because especially the way that he played last night. I know it could be a fluke in a way, but at the same time, he played really well. He played beautifully in his position, and seeing him as a central defender would be really weird, considering the fact of how well he's done. Yeah, though, talking about central defenders, you have the likes of, obviously, Jeff Cameron, that's been really well in that position and has been able to score goals too. So, for now, leave him up there, I'd say. Give him more minutes, and if he learns that position, maybe drop him down to central defender and see how he can help benefit from both angles.
Yeah, but do you agree that having him right now at this moment, and the fact that this team, needs to get some results because of the lack of results in the beginning, that we need to have Pablo Aguilar in his natural position so that the team could be more efficient that way?
Yes. I agree. I agree that he should be in his natural position right now because of the fact, yes, this team needs to be more efficient. And he showed that last night, too, that him in that position makes that team more efficient and makes that team better. And so him right there is a perfect position for him right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That was actually one of my biggest complaints. And when Ray told me, that was what Jerson Achuri said that the Dynamos see, and I was like, what are the Dynamos smoking? And I'm sorry to bring up that, but it's ridiculous. I mean, I know that there's such a thing as pluripositional players, but when you're gonna be developing and you really don't have depth in that position, and you have someone that has excelled at that position, might as well take advantage of it. It's not like Jerson Echeverry does not use a position in which a central attacking midfielder is used. He does, and it's the same position, the same formation every time. And we've shown it today. I mean, we played against the number 2 team in the Western Conference, and we shut them out and beat them 2-0 when nobody thought that we would be able to do it.
Exactly. It goes to show that, I mean, our lineup is finally basically perfect in a way that, yes, we needed that big time, and it showed that where these players are at the moment is where they need to be every week. Yes, you can change it up a bit, obviously, because the same lineup each week will get you in trouble sooner than later, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, there's a difference between, switching a player here and there, just to make sure that the other player has some match fitness, and then there's the other part where it had happened in the first couple of games where he pretty much almost changed the whole team, like from one week to the next, and so the chemistry just was never there. And so hopefully now we'll start seeing a more consistent lineup week after week, and just like I said, change a player here and there. We have to have Kai Green, he's got the seniority, so we'll probably see him get starts, but for the most part, you got to keep Connor Donovan, you got to keep Kyle Adams, you got to keep Nico Corti, Pablo Aguilar, as well as maybe even Todd Warden, Zach Wright. You got to make sure that their chemistry keeps on improving, that they get to know each other more, so that by the time we get to mid-season and close to postseason, it's almost kind of like a well-oiled machine in which the players know how each other plays, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. That is what we need. Exactly. The chemistry is key. If we don't have that, then there's no good soccer, and I think that's what we struggled on, especially last year, because all those players, especially like Charlie Ward, gets sent up, so then we have to replace him with someone else new halfway through that season, and guess what? They didn't really, in my opinion, gel that well, and so now that we have this type of team, we do not need to switch it. We just do not need to switch anything, basically, because maybe one more person coming down that even knows the team the best will be good.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But you have to maintain that consistency. Is like they say, consistency is key. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go on break, quick 2-minute break. Be sure, guys, the people who are listening right now on YouTube, we got 4 people watching. Guys, if you haven't given this this stream a like, be sure to leave a like. Share it with your friends. Invite all your friends, your fellow Toros fans, to come and watch this show. And we have the phone lines are open. The phone lines are open, 956-622-5977. And you will be able to come live on the show and give us your thoughts on on RGV. What do you think of the team so far? Did you like yesterday's performance? Do you believe that this is finally going to be, the performances that we should be able to see for the rest of the season? Are you still not convinced? Let us know. Blues fan says he's watching the draft. Oh, come on. That's all right. It's all right, Blues fan. And then my dad says, Javier Ochoa says, saludos desde Monterrey, Mexico. So that's watching from Monterrey, Mexico. So, all right. So when we come back, we'll talk more in depth about the RGVFC versus Orange County game. And hopefully we get to hear some calls from y'all. We'll be back.
Good, yeah. Getting those. All right, sounds good. Wait, we play against Portland this Saturday, right? Oh, the last one of the game. Okay. All right, sounds good. Yeah, I do too. Yeah, it'll be great.
All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. We were talking about right now. We were talking just the entry about the starting 11 for the RGVFC versus Orange County SC, and I think now it should be will be a good time, to actually go and analyze this game as far as what we saw from the highlights. So, Jacob, before we go to the video, you have some observations that you saw about the game?
Just the observations that I saw from the game is that they needed to watch out for that counterattack last night that happened, and that was huge. The huge thing was for RGV to stop that counterattack, and they did a really good job about doing that. And not to mention, they needed to get off to a better start second half, and they weren't able to do that. They were really pushed back, and that was one major thing that I saw, and I did not like one bit, is that even though they won on possession, sometimes they stayed back in their own end trying to defend, and they couldn't even clear it for a while in that second half, and that's one thing that wasn't too good. Other than that, they did play really well, and they just needed to work on the passing as well.
I do want to bring up, you mentioned the passing. It's been a constant problem for RGVFC, these first 5 games, especially in the midfield. They seem to lose possession really quickly in the midfield, trying to pass the ball back, and then they end up giving it to the attackers. And so it puts the defenders in a really awkward position, trying to come back. And sometimes you have, these other midfielders, especially when you had Pablo Aguilar playing central defensive in other games, he would go up and then they'd lose the ball, and he was so far up that he wasn't able to get back in time to try to stop the attack. So it's little details that hopefully Jerison continues to kind of drill on the players, because it's those little mental mistakes that the past games, thankfully, it didn't happen this game, but in past games, it really cost us dearly.
Yeah. And the good thing was also that it wasn't just us that night doing a bit of the bad passing. I watched the replay even today, and some of the passing, especially in the first half, it was pretty weird to see Orange County make as many mistakes as us in that game, because sometimes when Orange County, lost the ball or got the ball back from the Toros, they gave it right back up to the Toros, and the Toros were able to take off and kind of counter there as well. And so it was nice to see that it wasn't just the Toros making that mistake, and that's in a way what helped the Toros prevail in the end.
Now, do you believe that that the weather or the climate had something to do with it?
In a short sense, I was shocked that, well, not really shocked, but impressed by Orange County that, they were pretty tired, but not a lot of players went down with cramps. So they were pretty well hydrated, and I guess kind of expecting that type of weather. But in a sense, yes, I think it kind of not really got them by surprise, but it helped tire them out a bit faster than they were used to, because obviously in Orange County and LA at night it's normally close to 65, 50s.
Yes.
And so, I mean, it probably helped.
Yeah, definitely. So looking at the stats for this game, so we know that RGV defeated Orange County SC 2-0. Now, possession tells us a completely different story. Orange County SC had 65.8% of possession. RGVFC only had 34.2. 4 corners each for each team. But did RGVFC look comfortable without the ball? In your opinion?
Without the ball,
yes.
RGVFC did not look comfortable. No, without the ball, they looked a bit scarce. Like they were able to defend well, and able to run, but they still, especially in the times that, like I said, they were trotting back. They were trying to get the ball back, and it just, in a way, they didn't look as smooth as they could have been. Mm-hmm. In some instances, though, they did look decently comfortable, but it really just depended on what type of play it was. If they had just lost the ball, they weren't comfortable. But in the sense that sometimes it was a one-on-one, they were able to stop it, and it looked like they were comfortable there.
Yes.
Being pinned back, in a sense, they really weren't.
Another thing I do want to bring up, because like we mentioned, 67% of possession with Orange County. But as far as attacking wise, 13 shots for RGVFC, only 9 for Orange County. 7 of those 13 shots were on target for RGVFC. Only 2 out of the 9 shots taken were on target by Orange County SC. And shooting accuracy was 53.8% for RGV and 22.2% for Orange County SC, which shows that maybe RGV was able to control them to a point where, yes, they had all this possession, but it was mostly out in the midfield. I'm seeing also, the heat map of this game, and the most of the possession or where the ball was pretty much in the midfield area. So that leads me to believe that there was enough, organization out in the back where they couldn't. Orange County was not comfortable having the ball there. Maybe they had to pass it back, to their midfielders, which I guess you can say kind of fluffs up that possession stat. I mean, you were there was that the case?
Oh, the case was, especially in the first half, a lot of the possession, yes, was stopped in the midfield, which was nice. And yes, a lot of those shots in the second half as well were kept, well, not shots, excuse me, but a lot of, Orange County coming up, they did get past that midfield. So a lot of that possession that Orange County got back, and especially got past the midfield, was a lot in the second half. And I believe that, yes, the Toros were able to really control that first half in a sense that it was mainly in their corner, because I did see a lot of, the Toros coming out and trying to make something happen, which also in that sense, which is something totally different, but their finishing and their passing right there needed to be a bit better for the Toros. But in the sense with the possession wise, the possession, I guess, Orange County did get stopped a lot in the midfield.
Yeah, and that's good to see. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the highlights for this game, which wasn't really much, but so here we have the game is starting, and then it was not until, I guess it was the 38th minute. So this is the 5th minute right here. This is Orange County on the attack, and let's take a look at that shot. Do you believe, watching this replay, did the RGVFC defenders give him too much of a space to take that shot comfortably?
Take that shot comfortably? Yes, because, if you do see with all those, with the orange basically in front of him, they're all backed up, and there are a couple of whites. So if, he was a smart player, he would have obviously passed to his right there, and I, in a sense, think that he would have been able to get a better shot. But with him taking that shot, it was just on him in a way, because he had other options, and in a sense, they ended up closing down in the end, which is nice. So that's what basically caused it to be a bad shot. So they really did a nice job on defending there. But once again, if he does decide to pass wide, that's a totally different story.
Yeah, because look at all of this space that was left wide open, and you can see, I believe that is number. Let me see what the number of that player is. I believe that was. All right, here you go. Why you shouldn't? There we go. Koji Hashimoto, number 22. He was outside the box, wide open, and like you say, you wonder why that player did not decide to pass it to Hashimoto. I think it would have been a more, I guess you can say, common sense play. Since he was wide open, and had he passed the ball, it would have given him not only a clear shot, on goal, but he could have probably made his way inside the box and tried to look for an easier shot. So, thankfully in this play, it didn't cost against us, but hopefully they're able to pick up on this and fix it for the future games.
Yes, exactly. And that is one thing that I did kind of see, is that they did leave a bit too much space open on other plays, as we will see. But for that instance, for them to close down on a player like that, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Do you believe also it might be because they're, when it comes to defending, they're very high pressure? They're a very high pressure team?
I think they are, yes. They are a high-pressure team when they can get the ball. And so that, or even when they don't have the ball, they can really be able to press you. But at the same time, we have seen in the past that pressing can, it can hurt you, because you can end up being that last defender that ends up lagging behind, and then it's up to the goalkeeper to save it. So, in a sense, yeah, they are a pretty high-pressure team.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and continue with the highlights. And so the next, I guess you can see dangerous play, that is about here. I believe this is the long shot by, I believe it was Todd. Oh no, so this was a cross over to Todd Wharton, who came from the right in the midfield. Let's take a look right here where he is right now. believe this is Memo Rodriguez passing the ball over to the right wing. And you see Todd Warden right over here kind of make, I guess you can say, a curved path over to the box. And this over here. So there's actually a lot of space out here in the wing. It looks like Orange County kind of focused their pressure right in the middle of the field.
Yeah, exactly. And I had noticed that throughout the game too, that they were giving the Toros all that extra space up on the wings, like you did say. And that's where the Toros did like to play the ball throughout that night. And so that's what caused almost havoc in the box, because of the fact that that's where the Toros were able to get, their shots on goal and things like that.
All right, so let me go ahead and let's go ahead and pause this real quick because we got Ray coming on right now. Hey Ray, what's up?
Hey, what's going on? How are you, Edson?
Real good, real good. We got Jacob on as well.
Nice. Hello, Jacob, and good evening.
Good evening to you as well.
So we're barely kind of talking right now on the plays of this game against Orange County SC, since it was fairly recent. What did you see? I know, Jacob, you were with the Stampede, during the game, and you were able to catch up on all these details, but Ray, what were you able to see up in the stands, up in the press box?
Oh, well, up in the press box, Orange County deployed more like a 4-4-2 formation.
Mm-hmm.
They made a substitution at the break. I believe the guy who had came off with an injury or like some sort of cramp and wasn't able to continue. That was the first early change that they made, and then my main concern was after the break was when after the light drizzle had stopped, how it was going to affect the pitch conditions, because I've seen games where it stops raining, but yet when someone goes in for like a challenge, the referee could let's just say penalize for a red card instead of just giving it like a standard yellow in most cases, and that's one of the things that really caught me off guard until the end of the game, where I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I missed this detail, and maybe I'll just talk about it today. And it was one of the things that caught my attention, which was that maybe the rain might have could cause a little bit more fouls, so detain the game a little bit more. But I'm glad that the game was able to open up for the Toros once they brought in Aldo Quintanilla in the second half and catch the OC defense off guard a little bit, and then thus we were able to put the game away when they did.
Yeah, it's like Jacob said that in the second half, RGV was kind of off on a slow start. They were slow to get back into the rhythm, and he mentions that Orange County kind of took advantage of it for those couple of minutes, just didn't reflect themselves on the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Orange County, I mean, in their last 3 games, they were like attack heavy. They were going to propose the game regardless of who was in front.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of played it into the Toros' hands a little bit, because they were going to rely on the speed of Max Steves and Memo Rodriguez. So that was one of the things that they were able to practice during the week, was like, okay, let's give them the initiative first, but we just got to be tight in the back line and make sure that we hold our positions. So once we get opportunities.
My question to you is: was this result more along the fact because of how better RGVFC became, or was it more of a letdown of Orange County not playing how they had been playing in the previous games?
It was a combination of both, in my opinion, because Orange County just got a little bit frustrated trying to finish off in the final third. I mean, they got their fair share of opportunities in. They had a few clear chances, but I guess the level of frustration set in a little bit, and that's when you kind of saw RGV capitalize on that momentum that they had. Like, they were able to first get a goal with that combination of Steves and Rodriguez, and then during the second half, when Gerson made that change to put in Aldo Quintanilla to freshen up the attack a little bit, that second goal really proved decisive, and it broke Orange County into two, from having them to counter, from having any other clear chances and opportunities to lock the game down.
Yeah. Oh, dog. Almost. Hey. Careful. Yeah, honestly, like, I did not see the Orange County that had, what was it, like 4 games in a row undefeated with a combined score of, what was it, like 12-0 or something like that. You know, and seeing this RGV team, you know, kudos to them. Honestly, huge credit to the players out there that were able to neutralize this really explosive Orange County team. I mean, they looked more like a middle of the pack team than a 2 seed of the Western Conference. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, that's kind of something that also played in too, you know, because you know, they had a 3-game winning streak. They had 3 straight clean sheets, and it was just one of those things where, you know, our problem wasn't so much attacking. Our problem was a little bit more defending. So they were like somewhat in a capacity where maybe they just wanted to come out, get a 0-0 draw, maybe perhaps find an opportunity in the set piece. I mean, they did establish possession right away, but overall, it was just one of those games where everything just fell into place for the Toros, and thus they were able to come out with 3 points.
Question to you: who was your man of the match?
For me, the man of the match, you know, little. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to go. Oh man, you know what? If they could have like multiple man of the match, I would have to say the entire back line for just holding everything down, for locking down defensively and sustaining an Orange County team that was pretty potent on the offense coming into last night's match. I'd have to say the back line.
Very interesting. Jacob, what's your thought? Who do you think deserved man of the match?
Honestly, I think it should be the goal scorers in a way, because of the fact that, yes, the whole back line did a fantastic job of holding it to, you know, a 2-0 lead, but at that same time, obviously, who got the 2-0? Who got those 2 goals? And those players obviously got the 3 points. They helped get that 3 points. So, yes, the back line did do a really good job, but at the same time, I've got to go with the offense.
Yeah. So we have Johnny,
I agree with I agree with him. But you also got to give credit to Gerson and bringing in Aldo and refreshing the attack a little bit, springing up that offense to score that second goal, which probably put the game on ice for the Toros. If I had to really switch my vote, I'd probably go Quintanilla.
that because of how well he played that you can say that super sub role in this team.
Yep.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I'm gonna have to go with Mames. I think in my opinion, man of the match is Mames because he was the one that kind of let the attack. The defense has been great for the most part these couple of games, but where we kind of see this more of an organization, more clarity was with Mamo. Being even though he was in the wing, I saw him kind of helping distribute, and he got the first goal. Credit to him, for not giving up and trying to get to that ball inside the box, and surprising the defender, who was in front of him. He did not expect Memo Rodriguez to get to it. So I think my vote would be for Mames. So you got Ray. You got anything else you want to talk about? Ray?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with your assessment. I mean, Memo did surprise the Orange County defense. Yes, that's something that despite only playing 60 plus minutes just to get some match conditioning in order to go up with the Dynamo this week, and I can also agree on that assessment as well.
Mm-hmm. So Johnny says that Nico has some nice saves as well, and that Quintanilla Meg was awesome. So you got what else? What else do you have for us, Ray? I know we're probably going to be talking about the Portland match later on, and but what can you expect now against Reno 1868?
Well, another team that has. That's pretty good so far. The only drawback to this match is that it's going to be an early morning game, so that may play into the Toros' favor. That it's going to be an early morning game. You're going to have a bolsterous stadium. It's going to be loud. It's going to be very noisy with those school kids, and I expect. I expect another complete 90-minute game, just like we saw against Orange County. It's just now that Gerson mentioned a while back that the team does practice at around 10:30 to get acclimated for this one game, and it's just something that they look forward to embrace the challenge. And one of the things that he said during the post-game interview is like, man, if we could have more days of bark in the park, I'll take them in order to get more
wins,
more victories. It was just something. It was just something that all of us there in the post-match conference, we all had a good chuckle about.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ray. So thank you for calling, man. Really appreciate you taking the time to call the show. And Jacob with the live tweeting, Cesar, you guys did an excellent job, covering the Toros yesterday. And so
definitely.
So now you're gonna be there also on against Reno, but hopefully we'll get to see each other for the San Antonio match.
Definitely. And in fact, I would like to talk to you. Once the show ends, give me a buzz back, and I'll give you the lowdown as to exactly what's going on, and we can talk to you then. In fact, real quickly, if I may, just give me about 2 minutes on the air.
Sure.
Speaking of the Brownsville Coyotes, they had an exhibition match. They lost to Villa del Mar, a tough Villa del Mar team that had let's just say that they had a couple of Barracuda players on their roster, more notably Alexis Apalaca, who was a keeper. It was a 3-2 loss. The Coyotes are just starting to feel that a fire in them, that they got to be a little bit more competitive, regardless of whether it's an exhibition or a regular season match. And it's just one of those things where the goalie was standing on his head and pretty much provided them the victory for Villa del Mar. And with that, I will sign out, and we will talk to you next week.
Sure thing, Ray. I'll give you a call later on when the show's over, man. Have a good night.
Thanks. You too, man. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so let's go ahead and just go quickly back to these highlights. So when we gonna come back in a couple of minutes, we'll have Sean from the Houston Soccer Power Hour. He's got some Dynamo/RGV rumors that I'm sure a lot of you will find interesting. But so Johnny says there's going to be another Bark in the Park, May 12th. The San Antonio FC biatches come down. So all right, so let's go ahead and go back to the highlight. So like we mentioned, so this is Todd Warden's volley inside the box. What are your thoughts, Jacob?
I don't entirely think that the volley was his only opportunity. I think if he's better, I think he could have probably, kind of stopped, maybe even looked for one more pass. But once again, maybe another pass is just too risky. So yeah, the volley is great. It's a great opportunity for a goal, but I think if he maybe just tries to control it on his feet, he might be able to bring it in the back of the net or get the goalkeeper out and maybe try and go around him and score there.
I think he was feeling the pressure from the two defenders that were behind him, and he probably felt that he did not have enough time to control the ball to the way he wanted it and to be able to score the goal. At least that's what I think. I mean, just take a look. You have two players on him. He probably was thinking like it was kind of falling a little bit behind him as well. So I guess that kind of played against him.
Yeah, that makes sense there. Yeah, I see that now. Of course, yeah, you're always going to feel the pressure from those two defenders. But once again, maybe there was a millisecond where he could have controlled it just a bit more.
Mm-hmm. And then this next play is. Oh, take a look at that volley. That went really, really close. Do you remember who that was?
No, not entirely sure. I saw his face, but couldn't realize who it was.
Yeah, that's what I like. I like so far from this team that they're not afraid of taking the shots from outside the box. I mean, we've seen Jorginho, we've seen Todd, we've seen this player take a shot at it. It's a good sign. And then this play right here, this is the first goal. So here we have Max Steves against two other players. He's pretty much pinned up to the line, and you would think that he was pretty much he had nowhere to go. But one of the interesting things right here, take a look at that defender. I think it was number 25. The way he tried to attack the ball just pretty much exposed himself to what Max Steves did to him, which was just pretty much touch the ball around him and go around him on the back end. And then you see Memo, making the run. He's outside the screen right now, but making that diagonal run inside to the middle of the box to try to get to the cross that Max Steves, who surprisingly was out in the wing, But I like that mobility as well. You continue to play it. Look where Memo is. He's coming from outside the box, and he's gonna take that diagonal run, towards almost to the 6-yard box. Why is this thing not working? All right, there we go. And then this, I believe it's number 2, does not even turn around to see who's behind them. And that was, I think, one of the reasons why Memo got the best of him and was able to get the ball before the defender did.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is true. Like you said, from the start, Orange County was basically exposed. You had that start from the defender. Basically, they could have had that play stopped from right there. And then, of course, Memo being Memo, coming from way outside the box and right in to basically make that play work. And then, again, that defender from Orange County screwed up. So, basically, in a way, it was just Orange County not playing good soccer and letting the Toros have the space, the amount of space that they needed to get around the goalkeeper Rawls and score it in the back of the net pretty close as well.
Another thing that captures my attention is the fact that this OC player does not attack the ball. He's stepping back, waiting for the ball to get to him. And you can't really do that. You have to be very proactive, especially when you're close to the 6-yard box. You have to be very proactive to make sure that the ball gets out of there. If I'm not mistaken, he even lets the ball bounce inside that 6-yard box. I went a little bit back. Yeah, look, the ball bounces in the yard in the box. He can't do that as a central defender. That was bad defending by that player.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, it goes back to fundamental soccer. Even, I mean, you just cannot do that. They don't teach you at a young age that. They teach you at a young age to actually come up to the ball, and it even goes back to even basketball too.
Yes, yeah, but that movement by Max Steve was just dirty. And then this play right here where it was, I believe it was Max Steves 1-on-1 against the keeper. He shoots the ball towards the Rawls, but that speed by Max Steves was definitely, a breath of fresh air, on the attack, trying to look for the backs of the defenders. And then here we are in the 80th minute. This is the goal by Aldo Quintanilla. When I saw this and I was coming back from Soccer Matters, dude, I was amazed. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. You got 3 defenders on Aldo Quintanilla. They managed to get the ball, and they kind of get a touch on the ball. And then the ball is hitting over to, I believe that is Todd Warden. And then look at the ref right there. Continue the play. Todd Warden kind of gets a touch on it towards Aldo Quintanilla, who has to go literally around the referee, gets to the ball first, nutmegs the center back, and just heads straight towards the goal. And beautiful finish close to the first post. And that pretty much sealed the deal for RGVFC last night.
Yeah, I mean, just a beautiful goal. Of course, it did take a bit of luck. I think the ref, in a way, kind of helped, kind of being in the way for him to almost have a dummy to go around. And then, of course, that burst of speed that he had right there to get, fresh air right in front of him was amazing.
Yes.
And so that's exactly what he needed. And then that perfect strike. I mean, that was just the best strike that you could ask for from a player right there.
Yeah, definitely. It looked a little bit unorthodox, but I mean, it got the job done. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give the Toros?
It wasn't a perfect game. I'll still give them about a 7.5 because they were good, but not amazing. And obviously, yes, like I said, they were good, but just they still need to take that extra step to make everything, fall into place. They still look like they can make the playoffs, but I know it's really still early in the season, but they could probably make the playoffs as like the last seed in the West. And honestly, that's a pretty good deal, in my opinion, considering the fact of how they are playing at this moment.
Definitely. So when we come back, we're going to be going on a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking with Sean Ringrose from the Houston Soccer Power Hour. We'll be talking about the rumors that have come up in the past couple of games that may affect, like I said, RGVFC. Dynamo have made some new acquisitions. And after that, we'll be talking about the Portland game and the Fresno game. So be sure to stick around. If you guys have not liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. All of this helps us out. And you're listening to Down in the Valley, episode 17, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Networks. Be sure to check them out on Twitter. Follow them at the BGNFM. Check out their website at www.bgn.fm. Also, be sure to check out Carson's latest post in Dynamo Theory for the bull and its horns, dealing with the game, the pregame for Orange County SC. Honestly, I told him because he said like, this might be a good time to bring in some Dynamo players, and he had no idea this was happening. And then it happened. I told him, all right, Carson, what are the next lottery numbers? All right, so we'll be right back.
I'm loving it. This is awesome. That is, you obviously want that. Yeah, it's fantasy. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Same here. I mean, even ask Andre Burns to help you with that too, because I've known that guy for a while, and he's really good with that stuff, the marketing aspect, and he'll for sure give it a listen and be able to, I guess, be a fan too. Yes, sir.
All right, guys, we're back. You're listening to Down in the Valley. I am your host, Edson Ochoa. We also have Jacob. Come on, Jacob.
Oh, what's up?
You got Jacob Young, our newest co-host, and right now we have Sean Ringrose from the Houston Soccer Power Hour. Name still pending, though.
Yeah, no, that name's definitely changing. I continue to say that week after week, and it's going to happen. I just don't know when.
So, the Houston Soccer Power Hour is a show a radio show that we do through KTXF DB The Real. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. where we talk about the Houston Dynamo, Houston Dash. I'm pretty sure we might be talking a little bit about Brazos Valley Cavalry when it starts, but we also talk about RGB with Down in the Valley Express. So if you guys are curious about knowing what the Orange World brings right now, give us a listen. Go ahead and download the TuneIn app on your phone and look for KTXFDB The Real. We go live. We stream live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. So like I said, we're probably talking about rumors so far. What have you heard?
Well, I mean, the primary one is no longer a rumor, which is Lundqvist is officially a Dynamo player. However, what's interesting about this and intriguing and why it's important for RGV fans is it's going to ultimately necessitate a move of some kind by the Dynamo. Mm-hmm. What's likely to happen, because this is a Swedish left back, so he plays for the Sweden national team, and he's going to take up an international roster slot. In MLS, just like in USL, you have a limited number of international roster slots that you can use per season.
Yes.
And the Dynamo are at their maximum. They can't have any more internationals because they're using all their slots. So what that means is they're going to have to make some kind of subsequent move to free up a slot. Now, that could be releasing a player, that could be trading a player, or that could be loaning a player to a team like RGV. Now, RGV is also at the maximum number of roster slots, except one, because I believe, possibly, someone wasn't in practice recently that was international.
Definitely. So during the day, I was kind of asking around my sources. So what's going, trying to find out what's going on. Is there a chance that Charlie Ward might come back? Because more than likely, Charlie Ward is going to be the one sacrificed by the Houston Dynamo, and I'm sure Jacob can agree to that because he has not seen minutes with the first team outside of Charities Cup or Open Cup.
Well, I did make the note. Neither has Eric Bird, but Eric Bird doesn't take up an international roster slot. Charlie Ward is the only player who takes up an international roster slot that has not seen minutes with a Dynamo. Now, I did make the point, Charlie's been around long enough now in the U.S. and has played long enough in the U.S. that he should actually be able to get a green card. It is plausible that he may actually be getting a green card, and it will be, timing will make it so that he actually gets his green card around the same time that Lundqvist is part of the roster, which would mean that he wouldn't come down to RGV. However, if he doesn't get a green card before then, he's going to have to move.
Exactly.
And that most likely means a move to RGV again, where he will almost assuredly see minutes alongside Todd Wharton. You have to think.
Yes.
And obviously RGV is essentially preparing for this move. Otherwise, why would they release a player and or not continue with an international player?
Yes. So when I was asking around, they told me, because one of the things I noticed is that, so you have the roster that's up in the USL website and the roster that's posted on the RGV website. The one on the USL website is constantly updated as, more players.
Yeah, well, it's updated it's synchronized updates to when USL announces moves themselves. So once the transaction is processed is when they put it up on the USL website.
Yeah, exactly.
And since all transactions have to go through the USL office, league office, that's the most up-to-date, actual, true, factual USL appropriate rosters. Sorry, I'm just clarifying.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's excellent. Definitely. But so one of the things I noticed is that on the RGV website, there is a player that was number 16. His name is Richard Donker, I believe. And he still comes up on the RGVFC website as part of the roster. When you go look at the USL website, he does not come out on the roster anymore. Now, this player is of Ghanaian nationality. He's young. He was born in Ghanaian.
Correct you on that. Sorry.
So, yeah, thank you. Hey, you got to say it right.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah. So he was wearing number 16, Richard Donkor. He was born in 1996, so he was young. But on the USL website, like I said, he does not come up anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, there's two different things that I want to point out as to why he's not. I know he's not on the roster anymore, even though nothing was
officially announced. Yeah.
Okay, number one, who wore number 16 yesterday at the game? Memo Rodriguez.
I was about to say Memo.
Yes,
that was my guess.
Memo Rodriguez. Number two, you see Charlie Ward actually on the actual USL roster.
Oh, hey now, that pretty much seals the deal right there. Because he wasn't there before, right? Or
No.
So then, yeah. I mean, that's the only way that happens is if he's loaned back to the team.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
So we have you actually on their website, on the USL website. If you look at the roster, you not only see Charlie Ward, and I kind of pointed out to it before, is that not only do you see Charlie Ward there, you see Eric Bird on the USL roster as well. Michael Nelson.
Okay.
Who else?
Mac and Memo.
Mac and Mems,
Okay.
Yes, and George Malky as well.
Are there any names that are missing from that roster that have been there the whole season otherwise?
I
know that's really like putting you on the spot right in this.
Like, what do you mean? Like,
I mean, other than Donkor, who's no longer on the roster there, are there any other players? I mean, you don't have to look now.
Oh,
I'm
I think I see what you mean.
You know what I'm saying? Like that could potentially indicate that maybe a player is getting ready to actually make a trip up to the Dynamo, is if they're no longer part of the RGV roster. I know Doncor is not the answer to that.
I think the other
player.
No, he's there. I was gonna say Sheldon Sullivan, but no. Other than that, everybody's there.
Okay.
Jovan Jones,
Okay.
Aldo Quintanilla, Derek Luke. You know, so the only change was Doncor, getting rid of Doncor, you know, to make space of an international slot for Charlie Ward,
which ultimately frees up the slot for the Dynamo so that they can bring Lundqvist in. Which is interesting because with Lundqvist, and this is true also for the USL, and most people don't know this, their international roster slot does not actually hit the roster budget or roster maximum, minimum, whatever. It doesn't hit that until their ITC, International Transfer Certificate, and their visas clear. Mm-hmm. So if a team makes a transfer for a player and subsequently loans that player out for 6 months, their international roster slot does not. It's still valid.
Yes.
And so we've seen that with some teams that have actually done that, where they'll loan a player in internationally, and then purchase a player internationally, and then loan them back to their original club for the remainder of that club's season, and then they come in the next season. I just thought that was an interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Jacob, what do you think of all this?
I think, in a way, we kind of expected it. There's really no, well. Yeah, I mean, we needed those players in the first of all, and I even noticed that when I done my own podcast too, that all those players were still technically on the USL roster for Toros and things like that. And so, honestly, it's exciting because of the fact that you see, the differences in both sides, and so, yeah, it's really exciting.
So something that Edson and I have thrown back and forth at each other repeatedly, and I'm curious to get your take on this, Jacob. How do you feel like RGV should market these players that are coming from the Dynamo roster that are technically officially Dynamo players but are being loaned to RGV? These, at this point, they should be name players as far as the USL level goes. So should RGV be trying to take advantage of that and market these players a little bit more, try to get some additional appearances out of them, try to maybe make some ticket packages around them, etc.? What are your thoughts on that? For
sure, yeah. When you have, name players for your club, you have to put it around them. I mean, you look, once you enter HEB Park, right on the outside, it has the players or basically the ex-players that have already played. And so you see like Eric Bird on there, he should come back, and then they can make, a whole ticket thing around there. And I mean, yeah, you have to market them better. And that's one thing and I hate to bring this up, but it's so true. And that's one thing why San Antonio FC has done such a great job of advertising, is because they've marketed players around there.
Yeah.
And it's helped so much for that team. But on the other side, when you just have random, not only just fan bases coming into your stadium, which is what RGV does, they really don't have a really good name brand player. And when we got Kevin Garcia back last year, it was nice because people knew that player. He was really good. He came back down, and I mean, honestly, they didn't really do a good job of marketing him when he came back down. But now, like you said, yes, they should do that, honestly.
I think part of the problem here is the fact that they usually try to keep this a secret as to what Dynamo players are coming down, so they'll announce it like right then and there before the game starts. I mean, we did not know that Mames and Max Steves were brought down until like you guys were up there on the stadium and the official lineups were announced. I did also want to bring up, you mentioned to talk about, the marketing as to these players. My question to you, Jacob, is how do you feel? I know as a Dynamo fan, you're happy because you're seeing all these players make the move from RGV to the Dynamo. But my question to you is, as an RGV fan, how does it feel that this player, which was pivotal, which was a fan favorite, literally, and you saw how well the fans, the Stampede, loved him, and then all of a sudden, like, you stop seeing him because he got the first team contract, moves over there, don't really see him, and now he's pretty much cut from the Dynamo roster due to international slots. What is your take on that?
Well, at first, obviously, I was pleased that obviously he got accepted. He basically, got transferred to Houston. I thought, oh, Houston's going to make it a smart deal. They're going to give him a lot of minutes. Well, guess what? They did not. So that was really annoying. And when I figured out that they just were not giving RGV players enough time on the pitch, like not even as subs, I got frustrated as even a Houston Dynamo fan, and then annoyed because RGVFC at that point was struggling.
Yes.
And so when last night when they got Memo back, it was exciting. Veterans were back, or a veteran was back on the field, and they made the game look good and things like that. And he looked good too. And so, with those players just sitting on the bench, or not even sitting on the bench, not even at the games for Houston, it just shows that Houston doesn't know how to manage almost their young players, because of the fact they're not giving them the opportunity to grow. And that's what RGV is here for, to make these players grow into players where they can be starters. But they weren't starters. They weren't even bench warmers really over there. And so it really gets me annoyed with that whole thing, because they just were not, they just can't manage those players yet.
Let me ask, and this goes...
They're not going to put them in like a starting or a bench lineup. It's frustrating.
Let me play devil's advocate for a minute, because it's that's my job. That's my role at this point. So let me ask you a question, and this goes both to Edson and Jacob, because I've actually not asked this to Edson before, which is really funny, and he's going to be like, whoa, I hadn't thought about that. Has Memo's time with the Dynamo made him a better player? The player you saw yesterday, or not yesterday, yesterday, that was last night. Wow, that was last night. Holy cow. The player you saw last night, is that a better player? Is that a more mature, more professional, more match-ready player than you had when he was with RGV before going back to the Dynamo? That's my question.
You go first, Jacob.
Edson's not ready to answer that question.
Well, honestly, for me, I think in a way he's more mature. Yes, he got that move, and obviously technically got demoted, but at the same time, he played good soccer. He was able to show around his moves and things like that, and in a way, yes, he is more matured, because now he's technically a leader where he's at now. Yeah. And in a way, Houston wouldn't have really done that if they didn't think that Memo could be a good leader towards these young players, because remember, these players are, I think, in a way, the average age for an RGVFC player is probably like maybe 21 to 23.
Yep.
So it's still pretty young. And you have that more maturity. That's, what's Memo's age now? Like 25, 26, something like that.
Isn't he actually older than Victor Garza?
Yeah.
Yeah. So isn't that incredible to think that a player that was in the Dynamo Academy system is now older than Victor Garza? He's now, technically Memo's now the most veteran offensive attacking player on the pitch.
Yes.
That's crazy.
For one game, but yes.
Well, it's still crazy. Until Charlie comes back. But
yeah. All right, so
I had one more question. And you didn't answer my question.
That's what I was going to do.
Well, let me piggyback on that real quick. Actually, I'm not going to piggyback on that because I just blanked.
Actually,
okay, yes, I do remember.
He's younger.
Is
Memo
he like
Rodrigo's
24?
He's 22.
22 right now. Okay.
Yes.
I thought he was a little younger. I was confused. You were confusing me. So to piggyback on that, though, we have to keep in mind there are two things that are very important to remember. One, Charlie Ward has been injured 2 or 3 times in his stint with the Dynamo, even in really mostly just from practice. Memo, when he came back to the Dynamo last year, came back because he got injured. And so he was useless to RGV at that point. And he was basically out with a season-ending injury. And he had started to actually get minutes at one point with the Dynamo before he was sent back to RGV.
And he played really well.
And he played really well before his injury. So it's important to note that 2 of the players that they've brought from RGV have injured themselves, one of which was injured in a in a really interesting situation. Don't Memo killing me, Smalls.
Actually, didn't he get injured against San Antonio?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had sent him back to RGV for like 2 or 3 matches.
Yeah.
And then they were going to bring him back. They were just letting him get some match time, and he went and got injured and then had to come back anyways because he had a knee ACL.
I remember
MCL.
that. He had the brace.
Remember him trying to hobble up the stairs?
Oh yeah, poor guy.
That hurt to watch.
Thankfully, honestly, I'm glad that he returned to that match. You know, that talent that we used to seeing from Memo Rodriguez, and I think that's the difference as to why Memo Rodriguez, you know, has been a success for the Dynamo system, to the fact that he's gotten minutes. I'm not saying that Charlie Ward has no talent; he's got a lot of talent in his position, but I think there's a lot more competition in that role right now, especially now with all these new additions for the season.
Yeah.
It would be almost impossible for him to get some minutes with the first team in MLS level.
Yeah.
You know, but going back into answering your question, yes, and I think this answered the question. Yes, the Dynamo helped Memo Rodriguez a lot to become, you know, more. You mentioned, you know, more mature, refined his skills, going up against. Opposition with a lot more talent, with a lot more skill than in the USL, and that has molded him to the player that he is today. You know, exciting prospect of the near future.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe the replacement of Andrew Wenger if he's moved to right back because of AJ's injury. You know, and I have to grant the success also to RGV for kind of smoothing out the rough on him and get him ready for MLS level. Now with Charlie Ward, I totally forgot about his injuries.
That man, he just can't stay uninjured for
but
long.
It was weird because we had never, like, the year and a half that he was with us, he had not gotten injured or.
Oh, it's the BBVA pitch. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I would say more Houston Sports Park.
Bingo.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead, Jacob.
Also remember that HEB Park's pitch hasn't been the best either. I saw a huge chunk of it come off, not to mention that they did have a concert right where that huge chunk came off of it last night. But before then, too, their pitch was not good. I remember my parents, when I sat with them last year, they always yelled, "What's up with the grass?" because it was terrible. So, in the sense, it's probably both.
I don't know how the pitch is going to hold up with Nitro Circus. I don't know if it's going to be at the actual stadium or if they're going to move it somewhere else. But I'm really afraid how the pitch is going to handle, you know, Nitro Circus this Saturday. And I don't
When's
know.
the next home match after that?
It's next Wednesday. So this Saturday they're having Nitro.
Oh yeah, that Wednesday in the sun.
Yeah. It's this Wednesday, this next Wednesday at 10 a.m.
It's not like they could just sit there and throw sand on top of the sod or anything. I mean, I don't know what they could possibly do to put the dirt down for that.
I don't know. I just think.
Actually, I take that back because they could do it with just ramps, which is probably what they're going to do. So it's probably just ramps. It's probably they're not going to use dirt. It'll probably just be ramps.
Yeah, but you're talking about having motorcycles going through the sod.
The motorcycles aren't. That's what I'm saying. They're going to have ramps. They'll have platforms and stuff that they'll ride on. They're just going to put platforms above it.
Okay.
So it'll just be resting on the grass itself.
Oh,
So that's one way that they could do that, and that would I suspect you'll find that that's probably what they'll end up doing. They're not stupid enough to actually let them ride on the grass. I say that, but at the same time, we both laugh because we know better. But still,
Yeah. But so going back with the Charlie Ward thing, do you think that he'll stay for good this time with RGV?
for good, define for good.
Or do you think
Is he going to retire with the Toros? The answer to that
no,
is no.
I highly doubt it. No, but what I meant to say was,
Is he gonna get another
Charlie
chance with the
Ward
Dynamo?
be the new Memo Rodriguez, where he was given an opportunity, he then got sent to the USL, got cut, and then got re-signed with RGV, got re-signed to the Dynamo, and look where he is now.
You know, I would have said last year, if you'd asked that, if that's what happened last year, I think it would have been a totally different situation. I would have said he's coming back. It's not. There's no question. This year, though, you've got Darwin Sarin, who's played decent enough. You've got Eric Alexander, who's healthy again. You've got Cabezas, who's eventually going to come back from his injury.
Arturo.
You've got Boney. You've got Andrew Wenger, who can play that position. I mean, you've got.
So we're stacked.
Yeah, there's so many options to play at defensive mid or center mid, as the case may be, that, yeah, I mean, it just, for him, it's just his problem is he's looking at a long list of players that he's got to beat out, and frankly, he hadn't beat them out at this point.
And I think also just the fact, and I did also want to bring it up, and I brought it up before, but Jacob, I don't know if you remember that I've talked about this, where I feel that the fans and the pundits here believe that even though, yes, the Dynamo did sign RGV players, they feel that they're still not ready for MLS level quality. And in a sense, they're right. Because there's a huge talent gap between MLS and USL. You know, but because the question was arised at Glenn's show when Kubo was sold, as to what would be a better option to look for use the Kubo money. And I mentioned, it has to be in the forwards because we don't have any forwards right now. It's just Mac and Manotas.
Back looks fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, what I mean.
Just kidding.
At least, yeah. Because
we have
a lot
no
of
depth.
people,
If one of them gets injured, we have no depth.
Because a lot of people are saying, "Well, the midfield, but we're already stacked in the midfield, and we already have, Charlie, Eric, who come up from RGV." And then the comment was, well, they're not ready.
So bear this in mind: the transfer window is technically not closed yet. Trades can still happen during the season. There are forwards and strikers out there that are available that you can do via trade. Mm-hmm. The Dynamo have enough assets to trade to get one. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. And they have a DP slot available. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to use this DP slot, but I'm definitely not saying they're not going to use the DP slot.
But that's a topic for next Tuesday.
Yes, it is. I just thought I'd share that. Because that also...
It does affect RGV.
It does. Well, it would theoretically. It just depends where and how they make it happen. But, with that said, any questions for me as far as Dynamo go?
Jacob?
Well, I don't have any real questions. For one thing, just for Houston... Do you think since Albert Ellis scored, he will put his finishing woes behind him?
Oh, absolutely not. Strikers of his nature are streaky. Look at Kyoto. Look at Morrow. Look at Kubo. Kubo may be a bad example because he's not a real striker. But strikers in general are streaky. Just by nature, they're streaky. It's a confidence. It's a mental thing. And when they're on, and when they're off. And sometimes it's as simple as, a few inches one way, a few inches the other way, and you're talking the difference between goals and no goals. And I feel like Elise is never going to stop trying. And that's all you can ever ask from a striker. You can want them to score consistently, and he's got a nose for goal, but he's going to have streaks where he goes quiet. And it's up to the players around him to raise their level of play to match his to make up for that slump. It's kind of like in basketball. If James Harden has a bad game, you have to have another player step up to take care of that role. And, for the Rockets this season, it's been Chris Paul, it's been Clint Capella, it's been Trevor Ariza, it's been Gerald Green out of nowhere. Every player has stepped up in their own way. And it's kind of the same way with the Dynamo. It has to be that way. You have to have players stepping up. It's the whole mentality and the whole phrasing of next man up. Whoever the next man up is, they've got to step up and they've got to prove they're ready to take on that bigger role. They're ready to take on that responsibility, and they're ready to prove that they can be just as much of a threat as Elise can be. Because teams will key on Elise, and they have been already. He's just so good that they can't stop him. They can only hope to slow him down.
Yeah. So what else you got for us, Sean? Is that pretty much it?
That's it.
All right, man. So thank you so much for bringing that up. It will be interesting. It will be interesting. I guess you can say it pretty much is how soon the Dynamo are going to send Charlie Ward down, and how soon is Gerson Echeverry be willing to
implement him into the lineup.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think just along those lines, I said I was done. See, I'm trying to get out of here, and you're reeling me back in. Along those lines, I think some of that is also also dependent upon how long it takes for Lundqvist to get his ITC and visa.
Yes.
Because I think the Dynamo, they don't feel they need to move Charlie Ward immediately unless Gerson says, hey, I need Charlie Ward. And I don't feel like Gerson quite feels exactly that way. He's content with Todd Wharton. He's content with the players he has.
Perea.
Yeah, especially as good as Perea is playing right now. He doesn't. And so... and I think even when Charlie comes, I don't know if Gerson's just going to give that role up.
Yeah, definitely.
Ward's going to have to earn it, just like Memo and Mac had to earn it, although they earned the heck out of that this last match. But I will say this, and this is my closing thought, and then I really am getting out of here. Closing thought. You can see the impact that this relationship has when two players come from the Dynamo to RGV, and you end up with a result like this. A week after a result that was completely different from this result on the road.
Definitely.
With that, mic drop. I'm out.
Thank you, Sean. For sharing this. So yeah, that was pretty much it on this whole rumor perspective on it. We hope to see Charlie down there, but like he said, and we've said before, they have to earn their spot in the starting 11 just like every other player in RGV. Jacob?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question real quick?
No, I was just saying that, like he said, it's imperative that just because you're coming down from the Dynamo doesn't mean like, oh, you're automatically granted, a starting 11 spot. He's going to have to earn it up against Todd Warden, Nicolas Perea, Matias Saldivar, and Pablo Aguilar, So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, to see how much of an impact, if he's going to have as big of an impact as he did in 2016 and the beginning of 2017. So let's go ahead and talk before, because we're 15 minutes away and we from the end of the show. It's almost going to be 9 o'clock. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the game against Fresno, which will happen, like we said. Actually, no, not Fresno. That's the week after. Reno 1868. As we know, next week, they'll be playing against Reno at HEB Park at 10 in the morning because I believe it was Edinburgh CISD is taking their students over to the stadium to go watch the Toros play. This match was originally scheduled up, I think it was like a month before, right? But it was postponed due to some severe weather up in Dallas, which caused their flight to the RGV to be canceled. So the game had to be postponed to this date, which will be the 2nd of May. And right now, Reno 1868. So we've played twice against them. And our results against Reno 1868, we have one win and one loss. The win, I believe it was at home, and then we lost against them away. At home, let me get to the results. So we've played in 2017, which was their inaugural season. We first played away over there in Reno. We lost 3-2. And then at home, we played them in September, and we won 1-0. Granted, last season they had Dane Kelly as their leading striker, which ended up winning the Golden Boot Award for 2017. Now he is not with Reno. He's, I believe, it's with the Richmond Kickers. So he's not even in our conference anymore. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously now you don't have your leading scorer, but of course, as each year you get different teams for each teams. What I mean by that is obviously, you have a different lineup, you have different players on that team, and it's going to be interesting to see how we can play against a second-year Reno 1868 team. And they had impressed me last year for sure, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do against a finally packed HEB Park with most likely the loudest place that they will play at this year, unless different teams do the same thing that we decided to do. At the same time, that's another California team. They're used to cooler weather, especially kind of late in this year, in a sense that, it's getting hotter and hotter. And so they're still used to that cooler weather. And so even like Ray pointed out, it's going to be close to midday, and even by 10 o'clock here in the valley, it gets really hot. It's already on a hot day. It's already going to be up to probably 85-ish.
Yes.
Which everywhere else feels like 90 degrees. And so that'll be a problem for them. They'll have to obviously hydrate really well before, things like that. But, I mean, besides the play, it's going to be interesting to see which way this goes. If the Toros show up like they did last night, then it's going to be a really fun match to watch. And obviously, I think their offense will get it going. But the question is, can their defense hold up like they did last night?
Yeah, definitely. Now, Reno 1868 have had a really slow start this season. So they've played, so far they've played 5 games. They have only won 1 game. They've lost 5 and have tied 0 with a -8 goal differential. They have only 3 points, and they are right now in 14th place, right below RGVFC. RGV has played 6 games so far. They've won 1, which was the one we played yesterday, lost 3, and tied 1 with a -5 goal differential. Reno right now, 1868, as far as their stat leaders go, the leading scorer right now is, somebody give me a drum roll because this is to take a little while to load. Sometimes I hate the USL page.
Oh yeah, that USL page is ridiculous. It is the slowest page that I've had to load before too.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So right now their leading goal scorer is Daniel Muzovsky, 4 appearances, 3 goals. Tied for second are Christopher Wayan and Brian Brown, with only 1 goal to their name. So right now they're a low scoring team. Antoine Hopnot has 5 appearances, 3 assists. Brian Brown with 1. So I think as long as they are able to contain these 2 players, I think as far as defensive wise, we should be fine against Reno 1868. I don't know what you think, but I think if they continue the form that they showed us yesterday against Orange County, I think they can get it done.
Yes, exactly. And I agree with you. As long as that team shows up like they did last night, like I said before, because of the fact that they finally played well, with Memo helping them, with, that veteran going on, and just that team chemistry that it seems like it has formed here with that lineup. Mm-hmm. That's what they need to show. That's exactly what they do. Obviously, they can put a bit of the icing on the cake, and what I mean by that is, fixing up their passing a bit and just looking, they can't get trapped in their own end for as long as they did in the second half. They have to start right up once again. once they come out there. I know even for the Toros, technically, this is going to be a brutal game because this is going to be the hottest game of the year for them, at least. And so it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I think the USL will probably implement 2 water breaks, so it'll almost be like 4 quarters. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays a role in that game as well. But as long as this team from last night shows up, I think we will be fine as well.
So interesting, looking at their lineup when they played against Portland Timbers 2, which they lost by a score of 2-. Actually, they defeated Portland Timbers 2 last week 2-1. So their lineup, looks like they play with a 4-2-3-1. And obviously you have Daniel Muzovsky, who scored the 2 goals that game. And then Antoine Hoppenot, who leads the assists, plays out in the wing, so in their right wing. So that's going to be a very interesting, I guess you can say, task. Whether it's Kyle Adams or Derek Luke or whoever plays out in the left as left back, he's gonna have a interesting and I would say difficult task to try to contain Antoine Hoppenot to avoid getting the crosses in for Daniel Muzovsky.
Yeah, Saturday. Yeah, I ended up watching that game on ESPN Plus. Shout out to them because great coverage. But that was the first time that I had seen Reno that season, and I thought, without looking at their record or anything, I would have thought that they were a top team by far because of the fact that they just looked like they were outplaying Portland Timbers 2. I don't know what happened to Portland Timbers 2, but with that type of lineup, you have to wonder, obviously they were playing at home, but you have to wonder if that team shows up, how nerve-wracking will it be versus obviously RGV. And so we'll just have to watch out for that because a 4-2-3-1, in my opinion, is one of the most dangerous lineup or tactical, I guess, change that you can really make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they should not be fooled by their record. If what you're saying, because I didn't watch that game, but if what you're saying is true that Reno 1868 against Portland Timbers 2 looked like an elite USL team, then it's not gonna be as simple as we thought that it was gonna be going by the record alone. So I hope that Jerson Echeverry and the players do not fall on that mistake in underestimating Reno 1868, because you're telling me that they have the potential to pull off, you can say, an upset at HEB Park.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, yeah, like you said, they'll have to watch out for that. They cannot take this team with a grain of salt, as I like to put it as well, because I mean, any team basically in the West is going to be a challenge.
Yes.
Because the West, in my opinion, is pretty stacked still. Like it has been for a couple of years, and it's going to be a brutal game, and we're just going to have to watch out for anything that can basically happen throughout the day, I guess, for that game.
Yeah, definitely, and see how how Reno reacts to the heat. That's also going to be a big question for this game. That hope we can use that to our advantage next Wednesday. So, what is your prediction for that match?
Next Wednesday, my prediction is I don't think that Corti will honestly get a shutout, but I believe if the Toros can score 2 and maybe finally break the 3-goal barrier, they will probably win 3-1.
So that I really see that happening, but I'm going to be a little bit more conservative and say 2-1 in favor of RGVFC. I think the heat is going to be a huge factor for Reno 1868, especially for players out on the wing, who usually have to run the most. So we may not see that winger play at his best compared to where they play at Portland Timbers 2, which is in comparison, a milder climate. When I'm speaking of Antoine Hoppenot. So I think that'll be a factor, and I think Toros come away with the win. So having said this, do you want to listen to a couple of the interviews that from yesterday?
Let's do it. Let's listen to those interviews.
All right. So first we have Aldo Quintanilla, the goal who scored the second goal, and he made the interview in Spanish, but I'll go ahead and translate once the video is over. So this is Aldo Quintanilla.
Aldo, felicidades por el triunfo. ¿Qué fue lo que viste en esa jugada del gol, en el segundo gol que se marcó?
Gracias. Creo que fue una serie de rebotes.
What the hell's going on?
El rebote me favorece a mí y levanto la cara y quedó mano a mano contra el central. Y veo de
Let me put it back.
Esto me favorece a mí y levanto la cara y quedo mano a mano contra el central y veo de reojo que se me pasa tantito, entonces aprovecho para tirarle un túnel y me voy solo contra el arquero.
So he's saying that he kind of took advantage of the defender's position to take advantage and nutmeg him, put the ball in between his legs and just go straight one-on-one against the keeper.
Y quedó mano a mano contra el
I
central.
honestly don't know why
Y veo de reojo que
it's giving me a
se me
problem.
pasa tantito,
It never
entonces
does. It's
aprovecho
never
para
done this
tirarle
before.
un túnel y me voy solo contra el arquero.
Okay. Y durante esa secuencia notaste algún cansancio de la defensa de...
Let's try another video. Well, what I'll probably do is I'll just post these interview videos on the YouTube channel like I did last time. So let's go ahead and try Jerson Echeverry.
Relief, and I think
Nah, we're gonna have to do it offline. I don't know what's going on with XSplit. So thank you guys. So I guess this is gonna be it for now. We are heading into the 9 o'clock mark. So I want to thank you all. If y'all, to those who are still watching right now, thank you all for tuning in today for Down in the Valley episode 17. Really also want to thank the BGN for having us on their network. Follow them on Twitter at the BGNFM. Check out their website as well at www.bgn.fm. Check out all the other USL podcasts like Backchat Show, Rising as One, Play the Kids, etc., etc. Be sure to support your other USL podcasts as well. Also check out our friends at dynamotheory.com with Carson's The Bull and His Horns. Every Wednesday he'll upload a newest article for The Bull and His Horns. They're really great reads for the coverage of RGVFC. Also, be sure to check us out on our website at www.downintheRGV.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter if you haven't already at downintheRGV. We are also on Facebook, Instagram as RGVFC fans. Then also check out our podcast when the audio gets podcasted. Check us out on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Apple Music, as well as the Google Play Store, so you can be able to stream the audio while, when you're driving out, when you're commuting to and from work or from school or wherever you're at, or you're just bored and you just want to listen to some good soccer talk, especially if it's about the Toros. So really appreciate if y'all would subscribe to us there. Really helps out a lot. And honestly, want to thank Jacob for coming on board with Down in the RGV. I hope you guys really enjoyed his presence. I know I really think that I made a really good decision to bring him on. He's got a lot of soccer knowledge, and I think it's good. It's going to be good for the show. So, Jacob, thank you. You got any words to say before we leave?
Well, Somos Toros, and yeah, thanks for having me on board as well.
Yeah, no, not a problem, man. So we'll see each other next week. And don't forget, we are planning for the match against San Antonio FC, which is on May 12th, Saturday, May 12th at HEB Park. We are planning to have both a pregame and a postgame show live from HEB Park. So be sure to hit us up over there at the stadium. Drop by and say hi and give your opinions, as well as to what you see from the Toros. What can you expect against San Antonio FC? Or if you just want to drop by, and say hi and have a little chat, after the shows, you're more than welcome to. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. And having said this, everybody have a good night. Thank you, Jacob. And we'll see each other next week for episode 18 of Down in the Valley. Take care.
Yeah. All right, that's perfect. All right, sounds good. Later.